So I just had to go do a lookup of old fables. The Chicken Little One and the Boy Who Called Wolf, because I feel like I am one of those at this point in time, or I'm going to be viewed as one of those at some point in time, and it's really bothersome to me. And let me explain why. When I started doing my first smoking prevention programs, the way I did it was I went and I found research of what all these things that smoking was doing, and then I saw presentations about all the things that smoking were doing, and then I put them together, and it made my basic program of how to help young people never take up smoking. The research was there. Well, that's because smoking had been around for over 50 years at mass production levels, where the majority of men were doing it at that time in the country. And so, that was easy to do without thinking like I'm spreading something which isn't known. And this is just my theory, and there's no research to back it. All right. So when I started doing smoking clinics and I started learning things that the people were saying, I saw the trends real fast of what was the way to quit. But on the same token, I was able to go find the research on all the things that I was basically claiming about still the damage. And I was hitting that really hard. That was a big piece of the motivation of why people wanted to quit at that point. They were, either sick themselves or their family was dying, and it was the smoking linked conditions. And I was able to clarify, just how dangerous the product was. This is a problem now because I can't do that research because that research doesn't exist for nicotine pouches. Why doesn't it exist? Because it's a relatively new product. Yes, some of you have been using it for, 5 years or so, maybe a little bit longer. But you know what? There hasn't been research done during these 5 years, which isn't surprising considering it took 50 years for them to really start doing the research on cigarettes. People were dying in those 50 years in large numbers. Millions of people were dying as they were not studying it yet, and then starting to get suspicious. But suspicion doesn't put it into a medical journal. And then it took a long time for it. And again, when I'm saying a long time, 1964 is when it was released to the public after it had been around since the turn of the century. I don't think it will take that long to get studies done on this, because they are looking at things now much quicker than they did back then, and there are suspicions, have always been suspicions of what nicotine by itself is going to do, but it wasn't in a way studied with any urgency because there was never nicotine by itself being delivered. The biggest urgency about nicotine is when they had to ban insecticides that contained it, because here they were using it, for what its intended use was of nicotine. It was, to kind of crops to protect them because it kills insects. But then they found out that the, farmers and the people who were using it, on personal gardens, it was a product called Black Leaf 40. They found these people were getting nicotine poisoning, and in some cases lethal. And okay, so they got rid of the product, but tobacco had now still been well established. You had, over half the male population addicted to it in the country, and so they continued using it. Well, this is nerve wracking for me because I'm having to now put out information. This is coming back to the Chicken Little or the Boy Who Called Wolf information. I am having to put out information on Insight alone. Again, extrapolating. I'm using that word a lot to what happened with tobacco users, with smokers, and trying to see, okay, so why are people having this symptom? When I'm hearing the symptom over and over again, what's some, common bond? And you go back to look at what they've studied with tobacco and cigarettes, and you can see, oh yeah, nicotine causes this kind of symptom. So again, I don't want to sound alarmist, but I'm alarmed. I I'm seeing what's happening to the people in the quitting Zoom group. I'm seeing it just day after day, symptom after symptom. And, but again, these are anecdotal stories, but there's nothing else we have to go on right now. And we need research, no question. I also know from experience it won't happen this week. It won't be there won't be, big studies that are gonna be blasted all over the media next month. That's probably not gonna happen next year, and it is hooking new people in large quantities. It's college age people, it's high school age people. I don't know if it's younger, but the potential is there. Uh, Again, I'm sorry to sound like such an alarmist, but this is alarming. If you do not use this product, don't take it up. Don't take it up because you've heard that it's safe and that there's no real problems associated with it. The research isn't there. So yes, you haven't heard the research. Don't take it up thinking it is safe. It's gonna be a mistake. Again, if you go read at a site where people, I don't know if there's others. I'm working with one right now. If you go read what it's on, it'll make you realize just how problematic these products are being to people's lives right now in real time. If you are a user and you're realizing you really are having a hard time getting off, it really is disrupting things for you. Understand it maybe that is the situation. It may be real disruptive, but I can pretty much, I don't want to say guarantee because I can't guarantee anything right now. But I would, if I were a betting man, I would say that you could pretty much bet on this is gonna make your life continually worse, maybe with much more significant, uh, problems than the problems that quitting are causing you down, for short term may be longer than what, it was with other tobacco products, but that's still short term compared to a lifetime. If this continues to go on doing what it looks like it's doing, your life may be miserable, impossible to, carry on any quality over the decades. And it may eventually find out that it's gonna cost people's lives. Again, I can't guarantee that. I can't promise that, but I do suspect that, and, I think you should too. If it's your life you're talking about, I think you should suspect that there's longer term things coming down the road here, and don't work with the basis. When you find that out, oh, you'll just quit. That was the logic that's killed tens of millions of people worldwide, over the last centuries, maybe higher numbers than that. Don't fall into the same trap that nicotine has done for, again, a century now. With tobacco, nicotine didn't do it by itself, but nicotine caused those people to have the other chemicals that were coming in with it. Now it's nicotine by itself, and we're going to find out what it's going to do. You do not want to be one of the guinea pigs in this experiment. And if you come to that conclusion too, that you do not want to be one of those guinea pigs, it's time to finally make and stick to a personal commitment to never administer nicotine again from any source.